chosen one. Stop right here. You are not hearing this by chance. There are moments when the heavens seem to pause, when the earth holds its breath, and you feel the weight of something drawing near. This is not meant to frighten you, but to awaken you. Right now, you stand in that very moment, like the sea falling unnaturally silent just before a tidal wave rises. No wind, no bird, no sound. Silence becomes the warning, louder than thunder. You've felt it before. That unexplainable tightening deep in your chest. The restless night where sleep refuses to come. The subtle nudge in your spirit whispering, "Be careful." This is that same feeling. The weekend ahead looks ordinary on the surface. Yet, spiritually, it is a crossroads. I recall the story of a chosen one who lived through such a moment. His life appeared routine, same job, same friends, same paths. Days before, a sudden tragedy. He noticed everything around him unusually still. Friends urged him to go out, but the inner whisper said, "Stay home." He obeyed. The very next day, he learned that disaster struck the place he would have gone. His attentiveness to that whisper preserved his life. That was no coincidence. That was divine interruption. And here you are, standing in the same tension. The battles this weekend are not fought in obvious places. They hide in invitations, in distractions, in opportunities that look harmless. The snares are subtle. That is why discernment is critical. The spirit inside you is already tugging. Not that. Don't go there. Don't agree to that voice. Listen. Your obedience will be your shield. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 33, verse 3. Call to me, and I will answer you, and tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know. This is not ancient poetry, it is a live strategy. Heaven promises to reveal secrets beyond human perception when you ask. This is how you outmaneuver unseen traps, not by guessing, but by calling, not by leaning on reason alone, but by listening for revelation. Picture yourself like a kite in the sky. The wind that others fear is the very wind that lifts you higher. But the kite does not fly wild on its own. It is anchored by a string. That string is your constant connection to God. As long as you hold fast, the storm does not scatter you, it carries you upward. Don't underestimate what's coming. Not every open door is meant for you. Not every smile is safe. Not every path is blessed. Some are bait. The enemy rarely arrives with horns and fire. He comes wrapped in what looks normal, convenient, appealing. That's why this weekend you must test the spirits. Weigh every word. Pause before every step. Remain steady. Don't let the noise of news, trends, or pressure from others shake you. When the world rushes, you slow down. When the world grows quiet, you listen deeper. That is how a chosen one survives the storm, by moving at heaven's pace, not man's. And if this word is stirring something in you, don't let it pass like just another sound in the scroll. Anchor it now. Type the number 565 inches, the comments, as a prophetic act, your way of declaring. I hear the warning. I receive the guidance. Share this with someone whose life may be spared by this reminder. Tap like, so this message doesn't sink beneath the flood of empty noise. And if you haven't already, subscribe, not for entertainment, But to remain aligned with the flow of warning and direction, heaven keeps releasing. You are not here randomly. You are here because you are called. The voice is clear. Pay attention. Prepare. Pray. This weekend may hold danger, but you are not defenseless. You will not stumble blindly. You will rise higher. Just as the eagle uses the storm itself to soar. And hear this, storms are not always sent to destroy you. Sometimes they come to reveal who you truly are. Pressure uncovers strength. Shadows expose the light. You will soon discover that what tried to crush you has only trained you. This is why you cannot take the hours ahead lightly. The warning is not a curse, but a gift. Heaven interrupts you because heaven intends to preserve you. Every whisper, every nudge in your spirit is proof that you are not abandoned. So, lift your head, sharpen your discernment, keep your spirit awake. The weekend may be dangerous, but you are marked, and the hand of God is already stretching over you. Chosen one. You feel it. The weight pressing on your spirit is not ordinary. This is the burden of assignment. There are seasons when your calling feels light, when your steps move easily. But not now. Now it feels as though you carry something heavier than your frame should endure. That is no accident. Heaven is pressing on you because the hour pressing on history demands it. Think of a runner in training. In the early days, the weights strapped to their legs feel unbearable. Muskelsash, lungspurn. Every step is a battle. Yet the coach does not remove the weight. Why? Because he sees the race that lies ahead. The burden now is building the strength required for the finish line later. That is exactly what God is doing with you. According to the book of Haggai, chapter 2, verse 9, the glory of this present house will be greater than the former, declares the Lord Almighty. And in this place I will grant peace. This promise explains the heaviness. You are being prepared for a glory greater than what you have known before. Peace will be your portion. But the weight you feel now is heaven remodeling your inner temple. The ache is not punishment, it is renovation. Many cannot understand the heaviness you carry. They look at you and wonder why you do not laugh as easily, why you withdraw at times, why your eyes seem to stare beyond the moment. What they cannot see is that you were never designed to blend in. You carry a mantle. Mantles rarely feel comfortable. They always feel heavier than your shoulders. Yet once you learn to walk with them, they transform into wings. I once heard the testimony of a chosen one in a waiting season. Every conversation felt shallow. Every plan with friends seemed out of place. Even family could not comprehend why their heart longed for something deeper. At first, they thought something was wrong with them. Later, they discovered it was heaven tugging them into alignment. That disconnection was not rejection, it was redirection. There is a truth you must hold. Weight and worth always walk together. The greater the treasure, the stronger the chest required to contain it. The more dangerous the mission, the deeper the preparation needed. That is why your process has been longer, your nights lonelier, your tears sharper. The assignment on your life is carved into eternity, and eternity cannot be carried lightly. Consider gold. It is not shaped in gentle breezes or calm waters. It is refined in fire, hammered on anvils, tested again and again until its impurities are gone. The heat does not lessen its value, it reveals it. That is why your struggles have burned so hot. Not because you are cursed, but because you are being refined into treasure. Picture yourself climbing a mountain trail. backpack loaded with stones. Each step upward feels harder than the last. Your body groans, but every step strengthens you. By the time you reach the summit, you realize the burden that slowed you is the very reason you can stand where others fell. That is your story right now. So do not despise the heaviness. Do not wish away the weight. What presses you today will soon position you tomorrow. What looks like chains now will become testimony later. You are not being crushed. You are being carved. Every ounce of silence, every unanswered prayer, every hidden battle is chiseling you into a vessel capable of carrying eternal glory. Chosen one. Your assignment is not fragile. That is why your process has been intense. Heaven refuses to entrust flimsy vessels with timeless treasure. Though you feel stretched beyond capacity, heaven sees strength in you that you have not yet discovered. And soon, the reason for the wait will be unveiled. Do not misinterpret the pressure as punishment. You are not under judgment, you are under shaping. The potter never leaves the clay untouched. His hands press, stretch, and reshape because he envisions the vessel you cannot yet see. What feels like breaking is actually forming, and when you finally glimpse what he has been building, the heaviness will make sense. Every sleepless night, every unanswered prayer, every season of silence will reveal its purpose. The weight will no longer feel cruel, it will feel sacred. You will realize you were trusted with it because you could bear it. Chosen one. This weekend may intensify that weight, but it will also refine your clarity. Lift your eyes. Trust the process. Hold steady under the pressure, because it is heaven's way of preparing you for glory greater than what you have known before. Chosen one. Hidden dangers do not always appear in unfamiliar places. Sometimes the greatest traps are set in the places you know best. Familiar streets. Familiar voies. Familiar routines. This is where the enemy loves to hide snares, because you relax your guard when you think you are safe. And it is in that comfort that compromise creeps in. Consider the story of Samson. His downfall did not come from a battlefield filled with spears and shields. It came in a home, in the lap of someone he trusted, in words that sounded like care but concealed betrayal. That is the strategy of darkness, to place snares where you least expect them, in the places where you believe you cannot fall. The writings of Proverbs, chapter 14, verse 12, remind us, there is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to death. Oh, this is the essence of the hidden trap. It will not look poisonous. It will look right. It will look appealing. It will even look like the answer to your prayer. But what seems right can often be the very thing that drags you into chains. I once heard of a young man who prayed fervently for opportunity. He was offered a position that seemed like everything he had asked for. The pay was good. The respect was high. And the timing felt perfect. But deep inside, there was a hesitation, a whisper telling him something was off. He ignored it. Within months, the environment consumed his peace. He fell into habits he thought he had conquered. What looked like blessing was actually bait. It took years for him to recover. But he now warns others. Listen to the whisper. Even when the surface looks safe. Olun, this weekend, the traps will not appear as open pits in the road. They will appear as smooth pavements, inviting you forward. That is why discernment is not optional, it is survival. You must lean into the Spirit's direction like a sailor reading the stars. One wrong turn can set you on a storm's path. Imagine walking through a field at night. You cannot see the snares hidden in the grass, but you can carry a lamp that reveals where you step. That lamp is the Word, and that whisper inside is the Spirit. Together they make invisible traps visible. Without them, you walk blind. With them, you walk secure. Now pause here. If this word has pierced you, I want you to take a step of agreement. Comment below with these 3 words. No hidden snare. Do not type them as a slogan, type them as a prophetic stand. By writing this, you are declaring that every trap set in secrecy will be exposed before your feet reach it. You are agreeing with heaven that you will not walk blindly, but with eyes opened and spirit sharpened. Chosen one. The hidden traps are real, but so is your shield. The danger is near, but so is your deliverer. What is concealed to others can be revealed to you. What ensnares the unprepared cannot hold you. For the light you choose will always scatter the shadows, and every chain set in secret will shatter before the one who walks in discernment. The truth about snares is that they are designed for the unsuspecting. No one wakes up and says, "Today I will walk into a trap." Traps are built for the distracted, the hurried, the careless. That is why discernment is not a suggestion for you. It is survival. When you slow down and test every step, you frustrate the plans of darkness before they can even touch you. Discernment does not always scream loudly. Often, it whispers. It can feel like hesitation when others rush forward. It can sound like a quiet voice saying, "Wait." Many ignore it, thinking it is fear or overthinking. But for the chosen ones, that whisper is not fear, it is the Spirit shielding you from unseen harm. To ignore it is to gamble with destiny. To honor it is to walk in safety. Understand this: the enemy knows he cannot destroy you directly, so he disguises. He comes as opportunity, as friendship, as comfort. He hides the hook beneath the bait. That is why the familiar places require even greater attention. When you recognize the strategy, you neutralize its power. So when you declare, "No hidden snare," you are not just repeating words. You are announcing to the spirit realm that every trap, no matter how disguised, will be exposed. You are choosing awareness over assumption, light over shadow, discernment over deception. And heaven will honor that declaration by opening your eyes where others remain blind. Chosen one. There are signals that heaven is releasing, and they are not to be ignored. They do not arrive as flashing lights in the sky or sirens in the streets. Instead, they slip quietly into your daily life through dreams, sudden interruptions, subtle gut feelings that you cannot explain. These are not coincidences. They are codes from heaven. When you train your spirit to recognize them, you will never be caught off guard. Dreams are often the first signal. To many, they seem random, nothing more than fragments of the mind. But to you, they are more than fragments. They are messages. A restless night may be a spiritual alarm clock. A vivid dream may be a map, warning of paths to avoid or inviting you to prepare for what is ahead. The ancients understood this. Joseph's entire destiny unfolded through the interpretation of dreams. When he listened, nations were preserved. Interruptions are another signal. You may set out with a plan, only to find your path blocked. Delays frustrate you, but they may also protect you. Think of the countless times you left the house later than intended, only to realize later that you avoided danger. What looks like inconvenience may be providence. The divine hand sometimes slows you down, not to hinder you, but to preserve you. Gut feelings, the inner unease you cannot justify, are perhaps the most underestimated signals. People call it instinct, but for you it is deeper. It is the spirit whispering before your mind has time to reason. That unease around certain people, that pause before a decision, that sudden desire to leave a place, all of it is communication from heaven. To dismiss it is to silence the very guidance meant to shield you. Scripture tells us in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 16, "I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves." No, this is more than poetic language. It is a survival code. You are sent into a world filled with hidden dangers. To survive, you must carry two qualities at once: shrewdness and innocence. Shrewdness sharpens your discernment. It teaches you to see what others overlook. Innocence keeps your heart pure, so your vision is not clouded by malice. Without both, you stumble. With both, you navigate the shadows without being stained by them. A chosen one once shared how they almost ignored these signals. They planned a simple trip. Nothing extraordinary. The night before, they dreamed of missing the train and being delayed. In the morning, everything seemed normal, yet an inner unease lingered. Against logic, they delayed their travel. Later, they learned of a tragic accident that occurred on the very route they would have taken. What felt like foolish hesitation was in fact divine preservation. That single act of listening extended their life. You must realize this. Signals from heaven often feel inconvenient. They may embarrass you in front of others. They may cause you to say no when everyone else is saying yes. But obedience to them marks the difference between stumbling into danger and walking in safety. Heaven does not shout to you, it whispers. The test of the chosen one is whether you honor the whisper. Think of a sailor on a vast sea. The winds change suddenly. The stars seem distant, yet he knows how to read the slightest shift in the waves, the faintest flicker in the sky. Those who dismiss the signals will be swept into storms, but the trained sailor reaches safe harbors. You are that sailor. The ocean before you may seem wide and unpredictable, but the signals are there, and if you train your eyes to see and your ears to hear, no storm will ever catch you unprepared. So, this weekend, watch the signals. Pay attention to what you dream. Take interruptions as potential redirection. Listen closely to your inner unease. Every signal matters. For the one who is chosen cannot afford to live blindly. You are not abandoned to chaos. You are guided by signs, subtle yet strong, delicate yet decisive. And when you honor them, you will walk paths others cannot see, avoid dangers others cannot escape, and step into victories others cannot imagine. Signals are not background noise, they are lifelines. The more you honor them, the sharper they become. Ignore them, and they grow faint. But when you lean in, you will begin to notice patterns, layers, and confirmations that others miss. This is how heaven trains your spirit, step by step, signal by signal. And once you learn this rhythm, fear loses its grip. You no longer stumble in uncertainty. You move with a confidence that does not come from the world, but from the one who sees all. That is the heritage of the chosen ones. Chosen one. This weekend is not like the rest. You may feel the pressure. You may sense the atmosphere shift. But what is happening now is bigger than just your life. It is a convergence of battles and breakthroughs. A moment where the unseen realm leans in, closer to the scene. Heaven is not silent, and neither is darkness. That is why the days ahead must be lived with open eyes and steady steps. Think of history. There are ordinary days that pass without a trace, and there are marked days that change the course of generations. This weekend carries that kind of weight. The choices you make, the posture of your heart, the words you speak, they will echo further than you realize. Some decisions close doors forever, while others open pathways that have been waiting for years. That is why you cannot take these days lightly. The words of the prophet Hosea, chapter 10, verse 12. Declare, sow righteousness for yourselves, reap the fruit of unfailing love, and break up your unplowed ground, for it is time to seek the Lord, until he comes and showers his righteousness on you. End quote. This is the picture of now. The ground beneath you is not ordinary soil. It is holy soil waiting to be sown into. Every act of obedience, every prayer whispered, every step away from compromise is like planting seeds in ground that will produce fruit beyond what you can count. This weekend is seed time, and heaven is watching what you will place into the soil. I remember the story of one chosen one who faced such a weekend. Invitations came from all directions, some tempting, some subtle, some wrapped in charm. Yet every time they paused and listened, they sensed a heaviness. They decided to stay home, to fast, to pray, though their friends mocked them for being too serious. But during that time, they encountered visions and clarity that later shaped their life's mission. Looking back, they said, that weekend looked ordinary to everyone else, but it was the turning point of my life. You know, that is the weight of this moment. It may not look dramatic to those around you, but to the heavens and to the forces of darkness, it is a battlefield, and you are not merely a spectator, you are in the middle of it. Your light terrifies darkness, and that is why the pressure feels heavier than before. Now, hear this carefully. Messages like this are not entertainment. They are lifelines, and lifelines are meant to be shared. If this word has touched you, take a moment to like this message so it rises above the noise and reaches others who need it. Share it with someone you love, because you never know if this reminder will be the very shield that saves them this weekend. And if you have not yet, subscribe, stay connected, so you will not miss the flow of warnings and encouragements. Heaven keeps releasing here. And about support, let me speak from the heart. Imagine a lighthouse standing on the shore. Its light warns ships of rocks, guides them into safe waters, and saves countless lives from destruction. But for the lighthouse to shine, someone must keep the oil burning. This work is much the same. The messages go out like beams of light into the darkness, but to keep them shining, there must be oil. If you feel led, consider being part of that oil, not as an obligation, not as a condition, but as a free act of partnership. Some give much, some give little, but every drop of oil keeps the flame alive for another soul who may be wandering in the night. Let me give you another picture. Imagine planting a tree by a river. You may never sit under its full shade, but generations after you will. That is what happens when you give, when you donate. You are not simply giving away, you are planting shade trees for souls you may never meet. You are sowing roots that reach beyond your lifetime. And remember, no one is compelled. You are not under law, you are under grace. Giving is never demanded, it is always invited. If your heart feels stirred, respond. If not, continue to receive freely. The message itself is the gift, and the choice to add oil is yours alone. Chosen one. This weekend is marked, and heaven is calling you not just to survive it, but to sow into it. Sow prayers, sow righteousness, sow obedience. And if your spirit nudges you, sow into this light that continues to reach others. For the glory that is coming is greater than what has been, and you are standing right in the middle of it. Chosen one. The heavens do not move randomly. Patterns unfold. Signs align. And numbers themselves often become divine reminders. Numbers in Scripture are not mere calculations, they are carriers of meaning. This weekend, you are being invited to step into alignment with a prophetic number that seals covering over your life. Not the numbers you have seen before, but one that speaks of new beginnings, of crossing thresholds, of a chapter you have not yet lived. Think of Noah. The floodwaters receded, the ark rested, and the first sign of new life appeared in the form of a dove carrying a branch. That was not chance. It was the announcement of a beginning. You are in such a moment now. The storms that once threatened to drown you are subsiding, and what waits ahead is not destruction but a fresh start. Numbers carry this same message. The prophets, the psalmists, and even the apostles understood their weight. They appear in cycles: 40 days of testing, 12 tribes of Israel, 7 seals of revelation. They remind us that God writes history in patterns. This weekend is such a pattern. A shift is unfolding, and you are invited to declare your place in it. The Word of God speaks in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 19. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. End of quote. That is the heartbeat of this prophetic moment. A new thing is springing up, not next year, not someday, but now, even in vastlands. Rivers are being carved. Even in wilderness, pathways are opening. The number you declare in this hour is more than digits on a screen. It is your yes to this new beginning. I once heard of a woman who wrestled for years in a cycle of delay. Every time breakthrough seemed near, something pulled her back. One night, she woke with a dream of standing at a gate with a number carved into the wood. She didn't understand it at first, but as she prayed, clarity came. The number symbolized a divine doorway. When she declared it out loud and began to act in obedience, the cycle broke. Within weeks, what had been stuck for years began to move. The number was not magic. It was her agreement with heaven's timing. So it is with you. This is your moment to agree with heaven, not to repeat old numbers from the past, but to step into a fresh declaration. In the comments, type 888. Do not take it lightly. This is the number of new beginnings, the sign of stepping into what has been prepared for you, but not yet seen. By writing it, you are declaring that the old cycles are over. that the wilderness will not consume you, and that streams are opening in dry ground. Understand this. When you comment 888, you are not feeding superstition, you are marking alignment. You are saying, I will not stay in the old. I will walk in the new. Heaven watches such declarations. Angels record them. Darkness trembles at them, because words carry power, and when written in agreement with the Spirit, they release shifts in unseen places. Imagine standing at the edge of a desert. Around you is only sand, silence, and heat. Suddenly, before your eyes, a trickle of water pushes through the dry ground. That trickle becomes a stream, then a river. That is what happens when you declare new beginnings. You do not deny the desert, you simply refuse to believe it is the final chapter. Chosen one. This weekend is more than survival. It is a birthing. The contractions may feel sharp, the waiting may feel long, but what is coming forth is new life. Your comment is not casual, it is your midwife cry saying, the new has come. No, so type it boldly. Type it with faith. Write 888 below and let it be your seal. You are not circling the same mountain again. You are stepping into the promised land prepared for you. And as you do, you will see streams in your wasteland, doors in your wilderness, and paths in places you thought were forever closed. The number 888 is not random. In biblical understanding, the number 8 represents new beginnings. Noah stepping onto dry ground after the flood. Circumcision on the 8th day, marking covenant. And David, the 8th son, rising as king. To triple it is to emphasize fullness, a wave of renewal that cannot be stopped. By typing 888, you are not writing empty digits, you are writing prophecy. You are declaring that cycles of loss, delay, and confusion end here. You are aligning with the God who makes all things new, saying, I am ready for resurrection life. In Chosen One. The traps that come against you rarely appear as obvious snares. More often, they disguise themselves as invitations. An open door that feels flattering, a relationship that seems harmless, a celebration that looks innocent. These are the shapes temptation takes when it aims for the chosen. And the danger lies not in the appearance, but in what waits beneath the surface. A fisherman knows this secret well. To catch a fish, he does not throw bare hooks into the water. He hides the hook with bait, something bright, something enticing, something that appeals to hunger. The fish does not see the danger until the hook is already in its mouth. So it is with you. The enemy rarely presents destruction plainly. He dresses it in sweetness, in comfort, in opportunity. The book of James, chapter 1, verse 14, declares, each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. And notice the word enticed. It means lured, baited, drawn by something that looks appealing. The trap works only when desire blinds the eyes. This is why you must be watchful, especially when opportunities seem to come too easily or relationships appear too convenient. Not every door is meant for you, and not every hand extended in friendship carries peace. I once heard the story of a young woman who longed for companionship. After a season of loneliness, she met someone who seemed to be everything she had prayed for. Charming, attentive, speaking words she had waited years to hear. She rushed in, believing the timing must be divine. But within months, she discovered hidden patterns of manipulation and compromise that eroded her spirit. The bait had been sweet, but the hook was sharp. It took deep healing for her to rise again. She now tells others, if it feels rushed, if it silences your peace, pause. Heaven never hides itself in deception. You must understand, false invitations do not always come through people. They can come through opportunities that flatter your ambition, through shortcuts that promise success without the process, through choices that relieve your pain but erode your integrity. These are the quiet snares designed not just to distract you, but to disqualify you. Think of a grand banquet table. Dishes are spread out. Silver shines. Aromas fill the air. Yet hidden in the middle is a single poisoned cup. Every guest who drinks of it falls ill, even though the rest of the feast is fine. That is how false invitations work. 90% may look safe, but the one hidden cup spoils the entire meal. And unless you discern, you cannot tell which cup it is. How then do you resist? By measuring every invitation against peace. The Spirit will never silence peace to push you forward. If your inner rest feels disturbed, that is your signal. When the surface looks perfect, but the inside trembles, stop. Peace is heaven's compass. Another layer of resistance is patience. The false invitation often pushes urgency. Act now. Decide quickly. You might miss your chance. But heaven's gifts carry no desperation. When God opens a door, it will not require you to betray your peace to step through. Patience unmasks what urgency hides. There is also wisdom in counsel. Sometimes you cannot see clearly because desire clouds your vision. That is why trusted voices matter. A mentor, a spiritual guide. Even a faithful friend can see from the outside what you overlook from within. Invite their perspective before you step. Many snares lose their power when exposed to wise counsel. Chosen one, you are precious. And that is why the attack is subtle. The enemy knows he cannot crush you directly, so he seeks to lure you into compromising yourself. But when you stay anchored in peace, patience, and wisdom, the bait loses its shine. Picture yourself walking through a marketplace. Stalls shout for your attention. Colors dazzle your eyes. Voices call your name. Yet you know your purpose. You know what you came for. So you ignore the noise. You pass by the glitter. You do not pick up what you were never sent to carry. That is how you must walk through the invitations of this weekend. Eyes fixed, heart steady, discernment sharp. Reject what is false. Even if it flatters you, decline what is shallow. Even if it comforts you, refuse what silences your peace. Even if it promises success, for you are not called to eat at every table or walk through every door. You are called to remain chosen, set apart, unentangled. The false invitation is only powerful when you say yes. But when you say no, you break its teeth, and your no becomes a shield. Not just for you, but for others who look to you as an example. Chosen one. The bait is real. The trap is set. But your discernment is greater, your spirit is sharper, and your destiny is too precious to be sold for momentary comfort. Walk wisely, and the hook will never touch you. Chosen one. You often wonder why the opposition against you feels heavier than what others face. Why storms gather faster around your life. Why misunderstandings multiply. Why battles find you even when you did not seek them. The answer is simple. Your light terrifies the darkness. Light, in its very nature, exposes what hides. Darkness can exist comfortably until light enters the room. The moment light appears, shadows shrink. Secrets are uncovered, and hidden things lose their power. That is you. Your presence unsettles atmospheres because the spirit within you disrupts what darkness would prefer to conceal. The writings of John, chapter 1, verse 5. Declare, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. This truth defines your journey. You may feel surrounded by shadows, but you must remember, shadows exist only because there is light, and that light cannot be extinguished. It may flicker in the storm, but it never dies. Darkness cannot overcome what was ignited by God Himself. I once heard of a chosen one who struggled deeply with rejection. Every time they walked into a room, people seemed uneasy. They wondered if something was wrong with them, if they were too quiet, too intense, too different. Later they realized the unease was not about them, but about the light they carried. Darkness in others reacted to the presence they bore. They were not rejected because of weakness, they were resisted because of radiance. You, too, carry this same reality. Some people will misjudge you. Others will distance themselves, not because you are flawed, but because your light reveals what they are not ready to confront. This is the price of being chosen. You will often stand alone, not because you are unloved, but because you are luminous. Think of a lighthouse on a rocky shore. Its beam cuts through fog and storm, guiding ships safely to harbor. But notice this, the lighthouse itself is battered by winds. Waves crash against its walls. Storms beat it relentlessly, yet it never stops shining. Its very purpose is fulfilled in the storm. That is your story. You are not shining despite the storm, you are shining because of it. Light also disrupts plans. When you walk into a space, conversation change. Plans whispered, in secrecy fall silent. Hidden intentions unravel, not because you said a word, but because your presence carries truth. This is why resistance meets you in unexpected places. Darkness cannot operate comfortably under illumination, so it seeks to push light away. But light is not fragile. Light does not apologize for shining. Light does not shrink when shadows press in. It simply continues to be what it was created to be. And so must you. Your role is not to dim yourself for others' comfort, but to burn brighter so that truth can be seen. Imagine carrying a lantern through a cave. Every step forward reveals corners that once hid creatures in silence. Those creatures scatter, not because you fought them with weapons, but because your flame exposed them. That is your role in this season, to walk forward, flame in hunt, revealing what cannot remain hidden. You may ask, why me? Why does my life draw such warfare? The answer lies in your assignment. Light bearers are always targeted, because their very existence threatens the agenda of darkness. If the enemy can extinguish your flame, the cave remains unchallenged. But as long as you shine, the shadows are unsettled. Do not despise the pressure. It is proof of your impact. The heavier the pushback, the clearer the evidence that your light is breaking ground. If you were insignificant, The resistance would not bother. The fact that storms gather is the mark of your significance. Chosen one. Your light is not optional, it is essential. Families need it. Communities need it. Generations after you will walk by the glow you sustain now. Though you may feel weary, though the storm may rage, you are not burning alone. Heaven itself fuels your flame, and the darkness cannot overcome it. So walk boldly, shine unashamed. Let the resistance come, for it only proves your radiance. Remember the words, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." That is not just scripture, it is your story, and it will remain your story. No matter how fierce the storm becomes, light has no competition with darkness the moment it appears. Victory is certain. This is why you must never doubt the flame inside you. Even when you feel small, even when storms howl, your light still shifts atmospheres. The cave cannot remain dark once you enter, because you were created to shine. Chosen one. Your mouth is more powerful than you realize. Words are not mere sounds in the air, they are seeds planted in the spirit. What you speak shapes atmospheres, directs path, and sets boundaries. Silence in moments of warfare is dangerous, but a spoken word of truth becomes a sword. When Jesus was confronted in the wilderness, he did not reason with the enemy. He responded with words. Each declaration cut through temptation like a blade. That same authority rests on you. Scripture in your mouth is not just memory, it is weaponry. Every time you speak truth, darkness is pushed back. The book of Hebrews, chapter 4, verse 12, proclaims, "For the word of God is alive and active, sharper than any double-edged sword. It penetrates soul and spirit, joints and marrow. It judges the heart." This is why your voice matters. When you declare scripture, you are not reciting history. You are releasing living fire. It slices through confusion, exposes and pierces what cannot be reached by reason alone. Silence gives darkness room. Proclamation drives it out. I once heard the testimony of a chosen one who battled crippling fear. Night after night, they felt shadows pressing in their room. At first, they remained quiet, hoping the fear would leave, but the silence only fed it. One night, they whispered, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" The atmosphere shifted instantly. Peace replaced the terror. From that day, they learned that even a trembling voice, if it carries the word, carry unstoppable authority. Your situation may feel overwhelming. The storm may roar. The lies may shout. But remember, your mouth is your weapon. Speak life when death whispers. Speak truth when deception surrounds you. Speak hope when despair tightens its grip. Words are not passive, they are pathways. Think of a torch in a cavern. The flame not only pushes back the dark, it shows you where to step next. So too with your declarations. They not only silence fear, they illuminate direction. Each verse you speak is like a flame placed ahead of your path, revealing where to walk. Now pause. If this word stirs you, respond with faith. Comment these 3 words. I speak fire, not as casual words, but as your declaration that from now on, your mouth will not be silenced. By writing it, you are saying, I will wield the word. I will not be quiet in battle. I will burn away lies with truth. Chosen one, do not underestimate the authority in your voice. Chains break when you declare freedom. Darkness flees when you proclaim light. What was once heavy will shift the moment truth is spoken aloud. This is your inheritance as one marked to carry the word. So speak, even when your voice shakes, even when doubt presses. Speak, for your words, sharpened by the spirit, are fire, and fire consumes what shadows cannot withstand. Words are never neutral. They either build or break, bless or curse, open doors or close them. When you release careless speech, you scatter seeds that may harm you later. But when you choose words anchored in Scripture, you plant orchards of life that generations after you can harvest. Think about how creation itself began. The universe was not crafted with tools or bricks. It was born by the words, "Let there be light." If words from God carried that power, and you are made in His image, then your declarations also carry weight. They echo in the atmosphere and shape reality. Your silence in battle can be dangerous. Silence is space, and space gives the enemy room to whisper lies. But the moment you speak, you close that gap. You replace deception with truth, anxiety with peace, and fear with faith. Speaking is not just defense, it is offense. Many forget that prayer itself is spoken agreement with heaven. It is not a monologue, it is an alignment. Every time you pray aloud, you are saying, "I agree with heaven's plan over my life." And heaven responds to that agreement. Picture a trumpet in the hands of an ancient soldier. A single blast could rally armies, signal attack, or announce victory. Your words carry the same authority. They rally angels to move. They announce to darkness that the battle is not yours alone. And they remind your own soul of victory. So guard your tongue, but also use it boldly. Don't waste it on complaints or curses. Aim it like an arrow, sharpened with truth. For the mouth of a chosen one is not casual, it is a furnace where fire is born. And fire changes everything. Chosen one, before this weekend unfolds fully, there is a call for you to cover not only your heart, but also your house. Covering is more than a prayer whispered. Once it is a canopy stretched wide over your space, your family, your devices, even your conversations. Without covering, you leave open windows in a storm. With covering, you create a sanctuary where shadows cannot dwell. Think of an ancient city. Its walls were not built for decoration, but for defense. When the walls were high and strong, families inside slept in peace. But a broken wall meant vulnerability. That is what your prayers, your worship, your declarations are for: building walls around your dwelling. Each verse you speak, each worship song you release, is like another stone laid in the wall. And soon, you realize your home is not just a house, but a fortress. The psalmist wrote in chapter 91, verse 1, "Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty, forever secure in His care." This shelter is real. When you make your house a place where His presence rests, you are no longer exposed to every dart of darkness. Even your sleep becomes guarded, your devices cleansed of unseen influence, your family covered by unseen wings. I once knew a chosen one who felt constant unrest in their home. Arguments broke out easily, nightmares disturbed the nights, and distractions filled every corner. One day, they decided to change the atmosphere. They began playing worship quietly in the background, praying over each room, reading a verse aloud before sleeping. Within weeks, peace settled like a blanket. The same walls remained, but the spiritual walls were rebuilt. That peace was not luck, it was covering. Now, pause with me. If this message resonates, take a moment to like it so more souls can discover the covering they desperately need. Share it with a friend or family member. You might be the reason their home finds peace. And if you haven't already, subscribe so that every new word of encouragement and warning finds you right on time. These simple actions ripple further than you know. And let me speak to you about something tender support. Imagine a well in the desert. Travelers come thirsty, weary, parched from the heat. The water is drawn freely, refreshing every soul who stops to drink. But wells must be maintained. Stones must be cleared. Bouquet repaired. Ropes replaced. Without care, the well dries, and the thirsty go unrefreshed. This work, these words, are like that well. They refresh, they guide, they shield. But for the well to remain open, it must be cared for. If you feel stirred, consider being one of those who tend the well, not by force, not by obligation, but by free and willing choice. Your donation is like dropping a bucket of fresh water back into the well, ensuring that many more can drink. Another image. Think of a candle burning in a dark room. The flame does not demand attention, but its warmth and light draw people close. Every time someone adds wax, the candle burns longer, giving light to those who come after. When you choose to give, you are adding wax to the flame, extending its life so that others walking in darkness may find their way. And hear me carefully, this is never about compulsion. Giving is not demanded, it is invited. You are free to take, free to drink, free to receive. But if your heart feels the nudge, respond, knowing that what you place into this work multiplies beyond your sight. Perhaps someone you will never meet will avoid a snare, or find peace, or step into their calling, all because you helped keep the light alive. Chosen one. Covering is not just for your house, it is also for the house of others. As you build walls of prayer, as you add oil to the flame, as you sow into the well, you become part of a movement bigger than yourself. And when heaven sees that, blessing does not just rest on you, it overflows into every corner of your life. So, let this weekend not pass with your house unguarded. Cover it, pray over it, fill it with light, and if your spirit leads, help keep the flame alive so more can find their covering too. For the one who shelters others will never be left unsheltered by God. Covering is not about fear. It is about wisdom. You do not wait for the storm to build walls. You raise them in advance. So peace can reign inside, even when winds howl outside. And remember, every act of obedience builds another layer. Prayer, worship, generosity, each one strengthens the shelter you and others rest beneath. Chosen one. The enemy's favorite strategy in urgent hours is not always destruction. Often, it is distraction. He knows that if he can keep you busy, entangled, emotionally stirred, or endlessly delayed, he does not have to destroy you, because you will never reach the place God intends. A delayed destiny can feel as devastating as a destroyed one. Think of a master thief. He does not always take what is most valuable. Sometimes he steals time, knowing that lost time can never be regained. So it is with your adversary. He plants delays in your path, subtle enough that you barely notice until you look back and realize months, even years, have slipped through your fingers. The writings of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1, remind us there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. And this truth reveals the weight of timing. Every purpose has its appointed hour, and the enemy works tirelessly to make you miss it. He cannot erase the promise, but he can distract you until the window closes. That is why discernment about your time is as vital as discernment about your choices. I once heard about a young man with great vision. Opportunities kept coming, but he always said, "Not yet. I'll prepare more. I'll wait for a better time." Delay after delay piled up. By the time he finally decided to act, the doors he once had were closed. Others had stepped into the places meant for him. His vision was not lost, but it was delayed so long that fruitfulness was cut short. He now warns others, do not mistake procrastination for patience. Chosen one. Delays are not always external. Sometimes they are woven into your emotions. A sudden conflict can consume your thoughts for days. A misunderstanding can spiral into endless conversations. An unexpected disappointment can drain your energy. These are not small accidents. They are distractions planted to pull you away from your focus. Imagine running a race on a track. The finish line is ahead, but scattered along the way are people calling your name, trying to hand you trinkets, urging you to pause for small talk. If you stop every time, you will never reach the goal, even though your strength is intact. This is how distraction works. It does not need to weaken your legs. It only needs to redirect your focus. This weekend, especially, be watchful of emotional triggers, arguments that erupt suddenly, old wounds reopened, unexpected demands on your time. These may not be coincidences. They are attempts to derail your spirit so you cannot remain aligned with heaven's rhythm. Resist the urge to fight every battle. Not every conflict deserves your response, and not every voice deserves your attention. Patience, when holy, preserves your strength. Procrastination, when subtle, steals it. The difference lies in intention. Patience trusts God's timing while staying prepared. Procrastination delays obedience under the disguise of waiting. One builds faith, the other erodes it. That is why you must constantly ask yourself, am I waiting with readiness or delaying with excuses? There is also wisdom in simplicity. The more cluttered your schedule, the easier it is for distractions to invade. When your focus is narrowed, your clarity sharpens. Simplicity is not laziness, it is strategy. It makes space for the voice of God to be heard clearly. Picture a skilled archer. He does not scatter arrows in every direction. He steadies his breath, narrows his gaze, and releases at the right moment. Distraction would cause him to waste arrows and miss the target. But focus ensures that every release counts. You are that archer now, called to focus on the assignment in front of you without being pulled aside. Chosen one. The enemy thrives on noise. He thrives on the clutter of endless tasks, meaningless arguments, shallow temptations. But you are called to silence the noise. When you step back, breathe, and fix your eyes, distractions lose their grip. This weekend may bring sudden interruptions, but you are not defenseless. You are guarded by discernment, covered by wisdom, and strengthened by peace. You will not miss your appointed hour, for the one who began the good work in you is faithful to complete it. Delays are not always visible battles. Often they are quiet thefts. The enemy would rather have you distracted than defeated, because a distracted warrior lays down their sword without realizing it. Guard your focus as if it were treasure, because in truth, it is. And remember this, heaven's timing is never late, but it does not wait forever either. When the window opens, step through. When the whisper comes, obey quickly. Swift obedience breaks the cycle of distraction and seals destiny. Chosen one. Moments come when heaven invites you to seal what has been spoken with a prophetic act. Words prepare the heart, but action anchors the spirit. This is one of those moments. You have walked through warnings, through lessons, through reminders that this weekend is not ordinary. Now, you are invited to mark it not with fear, but with faith. Numbers throughout Scripture carry weight. They are not random digits. They are signs and rhythms woven into the fabric of God's design. 12 tribes formed the nation of Israel. 12 stones were lifted from the Jordan as a memorial of crossing into promise. 12 disciples walked with Jesus, carrying the foundation of his message to the world. The number 12 represents government, divine order, and completion of structure. It is heaven saying, "My hand is steady. My plan is sure." The words recorded in the book of Revelation, chapter 21, verse 14, say, "The wall of the city had 12 foundations, and on them were the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb." Endless. This picture reveals permanence. A wall with 12 foundations cannot be shaken. A kingdom established on 12 names cannot collapse. And that is what God speaks over you now. Stability, order, permanence in a season that feels unstable, where chaos tries to intrude. Divine order will stand. I remember hearing of a chosen one who struggled with inconsistency. Every time they built progress, something would unravel. Every attempt to stand firm seemed to collapse under pressure. Then one day, during prayer, they felt led to write the number 12 inches, their journal. As they did, they sensed peace fill the room. That week, situations that had been unstable suddenly began to settle. It was not superstition, it was a prophetic act, aligning them with heaven's order. This is your moment to do the same. Comment below with the number 1212. Do not type it casually. Let it be your declaration that this weekend, your house, your heart, your steps will be aligned with divine order. The repetition of 12 doubles the promise. Government established. Foundation secured. Stability multiplied. By writing 12:12, you are proclaiming, "Chaos will not rule my weekend. Heaven's order will." Why does this matter? Because words spoken without action can fade. But when you anchor them with a prophetic response, you engrave them deeper into your spirit. Typing 1212 may seem simple, but it is an act of faith. It is you saying to the unseen, I will not stumble. I will walk in order. I will stand on firm foundations. Imagine a builder laying stones. With each stone, the wall rises, stronger and higher. Without the final stones, the wall is incomplete. Commenting 1212 is like setting those last stones in place. It completes the covering, secures the structure, and announces that the wall around your life will not fall. Or think of a clock striking midnight. The hands land exactly where they are meant to be. Not 1 second late. Not 1 second early. That precision is divine order. When you declare 1212, you are stepping into that same precision, that God's timing for you will not be delayed or rushed, but perfectly aligned. Chosen one. This weekend is not about drifting. It is about deciding. You cannot afford to leave your foundation half-built. You cannot walk into days of warfare with walls left unfinished. Seal it now. Declare it now. Write it as a marker for yourself and as a banner in the unseen realm. And when you do, remember this: order brings peace. Stability silences fear. A firm foundation frees you to stand tall while others tremble. That is the gift of 1212. Not just a number, but a sign that you are not tossed by chaos, you are anchored in order. So take this step. Mark it in faith. Write 1212 below and let it echo. For as you do, you will feel the steadiness of heaven under your feet and the assurance that no matter what storms rage this weekend, your foundation will hold. Order is not control, it is alignment. When heaven establishes order in your life, it is not to restrict you, but to release you. True freedom is found when your steps are steady, not scattered. The number 1212 is a reminder of this alignment. It is a seal that says, I will not live in fragments. I will walk in wholeness. Stability is not the absence of storms. It is the ability to remain standing when storms arrive. So when you type 1212, see it as more than numbers on a screen. It is a prophetic act, placing your life into heaven's blueprint, declaring that your walls are strong, your foundations secure, and your future unshakable. Chosen one. There comes a moment when fear no longer fits you. The robe of timidity hangs loose on your shoulders, and heaven begins to dress you in something new, holy boldness. Boldness is not arrogance, nor is it reckless confidence in yourself. Boldness is the steady authority that flows when you know who walks with you and who speaks through you. Too often, the enemy has tried to silence you. He has used rejection, intimidation, misunderstanding, and even your own doubts to keep you quiet. But what you carry cannot remain muted. There is a fire in your bones, and it was not placed there to flicker in secret. It was placed to burn brightly, to declare truth, to disrupt lies. The Book of Joshua, Chapter 1, Verse 9, reminds us, Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. This is not a suggestion, it is a command. Courage is not optional for the chosen. Fear may knock on your door, but it cannot rule your house. Discouragement may visit, but it cannot become your dwelling. Why? Because boldness is not about your own strength. It is about His presence. If God is with you, then no atmosphere is too dark, no opposition too heavy, no stage too intimidating. I recall the story of a chosen one who always felt invisible. They kept quiet in meetings, hid their insights, and shrank back from leadership. Yet one day, faced with a moment where silence would mean compromise, something rose within them. Their voice broke through the fear, and what they said carried such weight that it shifted the entire room. Later, they admitted, "It wasn't even me. It felt like fire poured out of my mouth." That is holy boldness. Boldness is the lion's roar echoing through the jungle. It silences the noise of lesser creatures, not because the lion shouts louder, but because its authority is recognized. You carry that same roar within your spirit. The enemy knows it, which is why he tries so hard to convince you to stay silent. Understand this: holy boldness is not brashness. It does not trample others to prove a point. It does not boast for attention. It is quiet when it must be quiet, and it is fierce when it must be fierce. It is the still voice that says, "This is truth," even when the crowd mocks. It is the calm step into fire, knowing you will not burn. Think of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Their boldness was not in shouting at the king, it was in refusing to bow. It was in standing tall when everyone else fell. That is what courage looks like: steadfastness in the face of pressure, and heaven honored their boldness by walking with them in the fire. This same spirit is rising in you. You will face moments when compromise looks easy and silence feels safer. But boldness will say, "No, I cannot bow. No, I will not hide. No, I will not shrink." And as you stand, others will be emboldened. Courage is contagious. Your stand becomes the spark for someone else's fire. Picture a torch in the darkness. One flame seems small, but as it lifts high, others come near and light their torches too. Soon, what was once a single light becomes a blaze that darkness cannot contain. That is the power of your boldness. It is never just about you, it ignites courage in others. Chosen one. You may feel inadequate. You may say, "I am not loud. I am not strong. I am not trained." But holy boldness does not ask for qualifications. It asks only for surrender. When you yield your mouth, your hands, your steps to God, boldness fills the gaps. He does not send you timid, He sends you clothed in fire. So this weekend, do not shrink back. Speak when truth must be spoken. Act when justice must be done. Refuse the cloak of fear and wear the mantle of courage. For you are not a shadow, you are a flame. And flames do not apologize for burning. Boldness is not loudness, it is alignment. When your heart aligns with heaven's will, even your quietest word carries weight. The authority does not come from volume, it comes from presence. The enemy recognizes it, and creation responds to it. So do not mistake trembling hands or a shaking voice for weakness, even a whisper, when fueled by holy boldness, shakes the unseen. Your yes to courage is not just survival, it is transformation. You rise not for yourself alone, but for those who follow your flame. Chosen one. There are hours in every season that weigh more heavily than others. Not every moment carries the same power. Some days feel ordinary, while others pulse with unseen intensity. Midnight is one of those thresholds. It is not just the turning of a clock, it is a shift of realms. When the world sleeps, battles, rage, and victories are written. Midnight is the dividing line between what was and what is about to be. In ancient times, watchmen were stationed through the night. Their task was not simply to protect the city, but to mark the hours. Midnight was considered the changing of the guard, the moment when vigilance mattered most. To doze off at midnight meant leaving the city vulnerable. In the same way, when midnight comes, your spirit must be awake. The Book of Acts, chapter 16, verse 25, tells us, about midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the other prisoners were listening to them. Midnight found Paul and Silas chained, beaten, surrounded by walls of iron. Yet at that threshold, they did not weep or despair. They lifted songs, and heaven responded. The prison shook. The doors flew open. Chains fell off. Midnight became the stage for liberation. You may not be in a physical prison, but you know the feeling of being chained by fear, by doubt, by cycles that never seem to end. Midnight is the moment when those chains are tested, when your worship and your words collide with heaven's power. If Paul and Silas could turn a prison into a sanctuary, you can turn your midnight into a battlefield of victory. I once heard of a chosen one who had battled depression for years. Nights were the hardest. Midnight was the hour when shadows pressed the heaviest. Yet one night, instead of lying in silence, they chose to whisper prayers and play worship softly. Something shifted. The heaviness did not vanish instantly, but the grip loosened. Night after night, they continued, and slowly, midnight lost its terror. It became the hour they met God most intimately. What was once fear became fellowship. Midnight also carries symbolism of transition. It is the ending of one day and the birthing of another. Darkness still covers the earth, yet dawn is closer than it was an hour before. That is the mystery of midnight. Though you stand in deep darkness, you are moving toward light. To quit at midnight is to walk away moments before breakthrough. Think of childbirth. The final hours before delivery are the most intense, the contractions strongest, the pain sharpest. Yet those are also the moments when new life is closest. Midnight in your spirit feels the same. The pressure is real, the battle fierce, but it is a sign that newness is near. Do not despise midnight. Embrace it as a proving ground. What you declare at midnight echoes into your morning. What you choose in the darkest hour shapes how you stand in the light. Midnight is not the end, it is the hinge. Picture yourself as a soldier on night watch. The camp sleeps, but you stay alert. Suddenly, in the silence, you hear the faintest movement in the distance. To others, it is nothing. To you, it is the signal to ready your weapon. That readiness makes the difference between ambush and victory. Midnight is such a watch. The Spirit nudges you to stay awake, not in fear, but in preparation. Chosen one, understand this. Midnight may feel lonely, but you are never alone. The God who shook prison walls for Paul and Silas still moves in midnight hours. The angels who ministered to weary prophets still encamp around those who watch and pray. The Spirit who hovered over chaos at creation still broods over your midnight, ready to call forth order from disorder. So when the clock strikes 12 and the night feels heavy, Remember, it is not just another hour. It is the threshold of victory. Midnight may roar with shadows, but it also hums with heaven's nearness. Stand steady. Lift your voice, for the shift has already begun, and the dawn is closer than you think. Midnight is proof that endings and beginnings can live in the same moment. It is the overlap where yesterday surrenders and tomorrow takes its first breath. To the weary, it feels endless. To the watchful, it announces a turning. So, when you face your midnight, don't fear the silence. Recognize it as a doorway. Beyond the darkness, dawn is already stirring. Your task is not to escape the hour, but to endure it with faith, knowing light always follows. Chosen one. Obedience has always been the dividing line between those who drift and those who stand. This weekend, more than ever, your obedience will be your shield, not the size of your gifts, not the power of your influence, but the quiet and steady yes that flows when heaven speaks. Every act of obedience builds protection around you, like a wall of fire that no darkness can cross. Think of Israel in the desert. They were shielded not because of their might, but because they followed the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. When they obeyed the guidance, they moved in safety. When they resisted, they wandered. The difference was not in their strength, but in their obedience. That is your truth as well. The writings of Deuteronomy, chapter 5, verse 33. Declare, walk in obedience to all that the Lord your God commanded, so that you may live and prosper, and prolong your days in the land you will possess. Obedience preserves life. Obedience stretches your days. Obedience unlocks inheritance. This is why the enemy tries so fiercely to lure you into small compromises, because he knows obedience is your shield. Each small act of defiance against darkness strengthens the wall around your life. Each whispered yes to God becomes another brick in that wall of fire. I recall the testimony of a chosen one who wrestled with whether to forgive someone who had wounded them deeply. The easier choice was to hold the grudge, to nurture the pain. Yet they sensed heaven pressing, release it. At first, they resisted, but finally, they obeyed. The very week they forgave. Opportunities opened that had been locked for years. Their obedience became the key. Later they said, forgiveness didn't just heal me, it shielded me. This is how obedience works. It doesn't always feel heroic. It can be as simple as turning off a conversation, stepping away from an invitation, or choosing prayer instead of distraction. Yet in the unseen, those small obediences roar like fire. Now pause here. If this message resonates, take a moment to like it, so the shield of obedience can be heard by more who need it. Share this word with someone walking on the edge of compromise. They may need the reminder more than you know. And if you haven't yet, subscribe so that you remain part of a stream where encouragement flows like living water. These acts are not duties, they are extensions of obedience. Ways of saying, I choose to keep the flame alive. No. And if this word has stirred you deeply, let your agreement be written. Comment these words. I choose my crown, not as empty letters, but as your declaration that obedience is your shield and glory is your inheritance. When you type it, you are stepping into alignment with heaven's decree that you are not uncovered, you are crowned. And let me speak gently about giving. Imagine a field in need of seed. Rain may fall, sun may shine, But without seed, there can be no harvest. This work is soil. Every word, every story, every scripture is soil where truth grows. When you donate, you are not paying for words. You are planting seed into this soil, ensuring that harvests spring up in places you may never see. Another picture. Think of stained glass in an ancient cathedral. Light shines through each fragment, filling the space with color, but without someone to repair the cracks, the glass will dim. Your support is like restoring the stained glass. It allows the light to keep shining in full beauty for others who walk in. You may never meet those who are touched, but your fingerprints remain on every beam of color. And hear me, this is never forced. Giving is never demanded. It is a choice of beauty. Just as obedience is personal, so is generosity. Some are called to plant much, some little, but each seed matters. Each drop of oil keeps the lamp burning longer for someone still finding their way. Chosen one, your obedience this weekend will shape more than you realize. Every small yes builds your wall of fire. Every act of generosity fuels the lamp for another soul. Every share, every word spoken in alignment, every choice to walk away from compromise, it all gathers to form a shield that darkness cannot breach. So let this not be a weekend of wandering. Let it be a weekend of obedience. Walk in step with the Spirit. Build the wall of fire around your life. And if your heart is stirred, add oil to the flame, so others may also find their shield. For those who walk in obedience will not only be preserved, they will rise crowned, carrying glory that cannot fade. Chosen one. There are seasons when shadows stretch long across the path. Fear whispers louder than faith. Uncertainty crowds every step, and the future feels veiled behind heavy clouds. But you must know this: the shadow is not the end of your story. To rise above it is not only possible, it is inevitable for those marked by heaven. Shadows are deceptive. They look larger than they are, looming with false power. Yet a shadow exists only where light is present. It has no substance of its own. This is why your trials often appear overwhelming. They are exaggerated shapes of fear, not the reality of defeat. The presence of a shadow is actually proof that the light is near. The writings of Romans, chapter 8, verse 37, assure us, no, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. Forever strong in his grace, eternally secure in his love. These words are not a distant promise, but a present reality. More than conquerors means you are not merely escaping by the skin of your teeth. You are rising, standing, prevailing, even carrying spoils from what once threatened to destroy you. The shadow cannot dictate your destiny. The love of God secures it. I once heard the story of a man who walked through a season of relentless setbacks. Every door closed, every plan unraveled. He described it as living under a constant shadow, as though the sun never broke through. Yet one morning, in the quiet of prayer, a single phrase rose in his heart: "The shadow proves the sun." That day, he chose to believe that the very darkness pressing on him was evidence that light was near. From then on, his steps grew stronger, and slowly opportunities unfolded that restored everything he thought was lost. His testimony became a beacon for others drowning in their own shadows. You must remember, rising above the weekend's shadow is not about ignoring the darkness. It is about seeing beyond it. Shadows will always try to convince you they are permanent. But dawn has always followed night. The pattern cannot be broken. No matter how long the night feels, morning is written into creation itself. Think of an eagle again, soaring above storm clouds. From the ground, the sky looks dark and furious. But the eagle climbs higher until it sees the sun shining unobstructed above the storm. The clouds have not vanished, but their power to intimidate is gone. That is what it means for you to rise above the shadow. You may not erase the trial, but you transcend its power to define you. The weekend may bring intensities you did not expect. Delays may surface. Emotions may stir. Temptations may rise. Yet every one of these shadows is temporary. They are real enough to test your resolve, but not strong enough to stop your ascent. Consider this. Mountains cast the longest shadows at sunset. They seem enormous, stretching endlessly across the valley. Yet, as the earth turns, the shadow fades, and the mountain stands revealed in the light. Your shadow season may feel overwhelming, but it will pass. And when it does, what remains is not the fear, but the strength you carried through it. Chosen one. Rising above the shadow requires perspective. If you stare only at the ground, you will believe the shadow is endless. But when you lift your eyes, you see the source of the light that makes the shadow possible. Perspective does not remove the trial, but it transforms your experience of it. Picture yourself standing in a hallway, dimly lit. At first, the long shadow frightens you. But as you walk forward, you realize it is cast by something small, a chair, a doorway, an object harmless in itself. That is how fear works. From a distance, it magnifies. Up close, it shrinks. Rising above is often as simple as stepping forward to see the truth for yourself. So, do not cower under the shadow this weekend. Stand tall. Keep moving. Remember that the love covering you makes you more than a conqueror, not less. Let the shadows stretch as far as they want. They cannot consume you. The very fact that they exist is your reminder. The light is still here, and the dawn is on its way. Shadows are loud liars, but they cannot change the truth. They may stretch across your path, but they cannot erase the light that casts them. When you recognize this, fear loses its grip and hope takes its place. So, walk forward, even if trembling. Each step through the shadow reveals how thin it really is. And with every step, the light grows stronger until you realize it was guiding you all along. Chosen one. You have walked through many layers of truth, warning, and promise. Now we arrive at the threshold where all of it comes together. This weekend has not been presented to you as ordinary, because it is not. It is a hinge in time, a doorway where choices echo far beyond the moment. You are standing at the intersection of what has been and what is yet to come. The weight you feel is real. The atmosphere pressing against you is not imagined. It is the collision of unseen forces. Heaven preparing to move, while darkness attempts to resist. That is why your spirit feels stretched, and your heart feels heavy. This is not a random trial. It is evidence that you are positioned in the center of a spiritual turning point. The book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 39, declares, "But we do not belong to those who shrink back and are destroyed, but to those who have faith and are saved." No, this is the identity heaven speaks over you. You do not belong to retreat. You do not belong to collapse. You belong to those who press forward, who refuse to let fear or compromise steal their inheritance. Faith is not just what you believe, it is the posture you carry when everything around you shakes. I once heard the story of a chosen one who nearly surrendered their calling in a weekend just like this. Exhausted, rejected, weary of the weight. They almost walked away, but something in them refused to let go. They prayed a simple prayer: God, if you still want me, I will rise again. The next morning, a message came that reignited their spirit. Today, they stand as a voice to many. That weekend could have been their end, but it became their rebirth. You, too, stand in such a moment. The enemy will whisper that you are too weak, too late, too broken. But those whispers are lies meant to keep you from crossing the threshold. Strength is not found in your willpower, it is found in the one who upholds you. And the same spirit that raised Christ from the grave is alive in you now. Think of a tree in winter. Branches bare, winds cold, ground frozen. To the eye, it looks dead, yet life pulses unseen beneath the bark. Roots drinking deeply, waiting for the moment of spring. That is you. What feels dormant is not dead. What looks empty is preparing for bloom. The weekend may look like winter, but resurrection waits just ahead. Chosen one. You must also remember that this is not just about you, your stand, your endurance. Your faith carries ripple effects. Families are covered because you refuse to give up. Friends are strengthened because they see you hold steady. Generations after, you will harvest what you plant in these hours. Your perseverance is never wasted. It is an inheritance for those who follow. Picture a torch carried through a storm. Rain lashes. Winds howl. Yet the torchbearer shields the flame, refusing to let it die. By the time they reach the village, the fire has diminished, but still burns. Others gather around, lighting their torches from that single flame. That is your role. Even when battered, your flame will ignite many. So as this weekend unfolds, do not measure success by comfort. Measure it by endurance. Do not fear the weight, it proves the worth of what you carry. Do not shrink from the shadow. It proves the nearness of light. And do not doubt the silence, it often hides the most powerful movements of God. Chosen one. Your story is not ending here. It is unfolding. Your steps are not stumbling, they are guided. Your faith is not failing, it is being refined. What you face now will become the testimony you tell later. The story that breathes courage into someone else's midnight. You are not of those who shrink back. You are of those who rise. And rise, you shall. Every trial has its turning, and every midnight has its morning. The weight you carried into this weekend is not meant to bury you, but to shape you. Heaven never wastes a season of testing. Each moment is woven into a story of victory. Your decision to endure is not small. It might feel quiet, even unseen. But heaven records it. Angels respond to it. And in the days ahead, you will see fruit sprout from seeds of faith you thought were forgotten. So lift your head. Even if your heart feels heavy, the fact that you are still here, still listening, still standing, is proof of your strength. The story is not over. It is only beginning. Chosen one. You have reached the end of this journey. But in truth, this is not the end. It is the beginning of something new. The words you have carried through these sections were never meant to be entertainment. They are seeds planted in your soul, reminders that you are chosen, covered, and equipped for the days ahead. Now, let me speak gently. If these words have stirred something in you, take a moment to like this message, not as a casual click, but as your way of saying, "This mattered. This needs to go further." When you share, you are extending the shield of truth to someone else's midnight. When you subscribe, you are choosing to stay close to the stream that refreshes your spirit. These are not demands, they are small acts of alignment. And if this word has truly marked you, let it be sealed in writing. Comment these words: "I finish strong," not as routine, but as a declaration that you will not shrink back. You will complete your course with courage. Your words become a banner over your life, a marker that this journey has shaped you. And for those who feel the nudge to go deeper, your giving is never a transaction. It is participation. Picture it as oil poured into a lamp. Each drop allows the flame to keep burning, casting light for others who are still lost in the dark. Or imagine planting a tree whose shade you may never sit under, but generations after you will. That is what your donation becomes, a legacy of covering, a future of hope. Chosen one. Everything here is invitation, not obligation. You are free to receive, free to walk away, free to return again. But if your heart feels stirred, step in, like, share, subscribe, comment, give. Do it not because you must, but because you choose to. For in choosing, you join the work of keeping the flame alive, not only for yourself, but for countless others who will one day find their light through you.